live with another chat that I'm super pumped for. We were just chatting a little bit beforehand. I still have you in my phone as Dan the Magic Man, which is, I don't know if that was something you told me to put you in as, or maybe I just saved it like that.
Probably not. I've been called worse, so
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
But no, I love that nickname,
funny.
and we have been friends ever since back in the day. I visited my brother at Binghamton University. You were in the same fraternity as my brother, and I met you first time, very personable. You said, I think, hey, you were doing a magic trick for a whole bunch of people. And I'll let you take the floor and explain sort of what you go by, if it's magician, if it's mentalist.
Sure, yeah,
the floor is
you
yours.
nailed it. I'm a magician and a mentalist. When you met me, back at the time, I was in Binghamton, just a college student. I ended up studying engineering, did that for a couple of years. The last few years of my life, I've decided, about 3 years ago, I made the decision, a little bit more than that, to go full-time. So I've been doing magic and mentalism full-time for a living, quit my engineering career. I'm lucky and thankful, to say the least. I mean, this is probably the worst that my business has ever been with what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
But other than these last 3 months, I've had some opportunities that I never even dreamt possible. You know, being able to go to different countries and be flown out to Beverly Hills to perform for people that I've looked up to my entire life, and just to do what I love, to do a little bit of magic.
Yeah, that's amazing. And to get people hooked right away, I mean, like I had asked you beforehand, I know it's not an ideal scenario over Skype, but like, I was like, I think it would be amazing if you could do some magic off the jump. So people see, what you're all about, because, I was thinking before I got online, and it was just like, I don't think anyone's ever been asked the question of like, hey, do you want to see some magic? And they've said no. Like, and if you have said that shit, you're either just like a murderer or a terrible person or something like that.
Right. There's something wrong. And I think I might have been turned down by like maybe a handful of people in my life, but generally the answer to that is, yeah, of course. Let me see what you got.
So,
but yeah, you're right.
Without further ado, if you want to open up the floor with some magic or something like that.
We could do something. We can start off with something. Well, throughout this whole thing, throughout our chat, I know you have some questions planned for me, some things you want to know about. More than happy to talk about that. We're going to definitely be doing some magic with you, some stuff that'll be interactive with the people who are watching this.
Oh.
And if all goes well, I'll even have a little time to teach everybody something, show everyone something that they can learn and do almost immediately. With a little bit of practice, you can go and wow people. But let's just jump right into it.
I'm ready, dude.
So, deck of cards. You're familiar with a deck of cards, yes?
Yeah.
So we have 52 cards, 54 if you leave the jokers in. We've got ace, 2, 3, jack, queen, king, everything in between, and then our suits are, do you know?
Yeah, I was a Texas Hold'em player, so I hope,
there you go.
With diamonds, spades, clubs, and hearts.
Diamonds, spades, clubs, and hearts. The order that they put it in tells you a lot about a person, interestingly enough. But you know them, and most people don't. I'm going to be honest with you. I run into people all the time who call a club a puppy foot. So,
for real?
Yeah, it happens. You'd be surprised.
Wow.
We're going to try something, though, but I don't want you to feel like I'm influencing you. Now, before I even get into it, this is a normal deck of cards. The cards are your standard deck that you would buy in a place like BJ's, in a place like Walmart, Walgreens, or even 7-Eleven. I'm going to give them a shuffle. I'm going to try to see if I can influence your mind here, okay? Now, as I'm spreading through the cards, you can see that they're all different, right? We got jokers in there, all the aces. You probably even have a favorite card, right? So in a moment, not yet, in a moment I'm going to ask you to think of a card, because I'm going to kind of make a little bit of a prediction.
Okay.
Predictions are kind of an odd thing, because I'm doing this with you live. So you have to take my word that this is a prediction. So the only way for me to prove this to you is if I take like a card like this one. Let's say it was the Jack of Diamonds, for instance, and I would take this card and I could turn it over, reverse it, so now it's the only card facing in a different direction, and then I can put it back into the box. Now, I won't do the Jack because maybe that's an obvious card, and also you just saw me do it. I'm going to have you think of a card, but I don't want you to make this easy for me. Now, I don't want you to feel like I'm limiting you in any way or giving you any sort of restrictions. But don't feel inclined to say an ace, because most men say ace. But if you want to, you can.
Okay.
Now, another common thing is most men, especially sports guys, spade. For whatever reason, it's just a strong suit. People go for it. Ace of spades, queen of hearts are very common cards. I want you to really, really take your time right now and settle down on one card totally at random.
Okay, I got it.
You got one?
Yeah.
Now, here's where it kind of gets crazy because I'm going to give you an option to change your mind. And if you do, great. If you don't, I'll never know because you're not going to have to tell anybody what you're thinking right now. But in about 5 minutes from now, when I'm done with this, if this goes right, you're going to think to yourself, man, what would have happened if I changed my mind? And you'll never know. So here's your only chance to make sure that this isn't a card that your gut went for, that this is totally a free choice. You got one?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay with it.
All right, I'm going to take one card.
And again, I just want people to know this is bugged out. If he gets like, and if you don't, I don't give you any like less magician props or anything because it's over Skype. You just downloaded this, so whatever happens happens.
And also, I just want to set the record straight. You don't work for me.
No.
I haven't sent you like a $10,000 check in the mail to say, hey, make me look good on YouTube. And this is not prearranged in any way. This is live, not pre-recorded. This is on the cuff.
Yep.
Right. And if it goes wrong and I don't get this right, I can say, I'm rusty.
Exactly.
Okay? I haven't done magic in 2 months. Blame it on me. I'm set in stone right here. Do you want to tell me the card or do you want one more moment to change your mind?
I'm locked on this one.
You're locked on it. For the very first time, for everybody watching in YouTube land, what was the card that you settled on?
3 of hearts.
For real?
Yeah.
Is there a specific reason why, or
3 is my favorite number, and when you said I started with diamonds, I should have started with hearts, so that's why I chose hearts.
Okay, good. So you felt like almost compelled in a way.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do this as fair as I can because if I were to do this for you face to face, if I was in a room like when I'm performing for a corporate event, you're next to me. There's no doubt on your end. So I don't want you to think I'm doing anything tricky. In fact, I specifically rolled my sleeves up on this long sleeve shirt. So we're as fair as can be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the cards out of the box. Now, when I went through, I turned over one card in the deck, in the center of the deck, and I put it face up. You could have said any card. I even asked you to change your mind just a couple of times. You might have, you might not have, but you settled down on one card and you said it was your favorite number, and it was
3 of hearts.
3. Corin, is that the 3?
That's bugged out.
And you literally could have named any card in that deck. You could have changed your mind. We would have been at a totally different number, totally different card.
That's wild. That's bugged out. Damn, dude. And again, I'm not one that like I would tell people if I was in on a joke or like a trick or anything like that. I could have said any card there, and I could have changed it. That's bugged out, man. That was impressive.
For everyone watching, and for my own sake, did you change your mind, or was 3 of hearts your gut reaction?
No, 3 of hearts was me the whole time, but you were doing something with the deck in between, and I saw like
I was just
like doing that. I think I saw like a 9 of diamonds, and I was gonna switch to it, but I was like, nah, let me just stay with my 3 of hearts.
That's too funny, man. That's too funny.
Damn.
Before we get going, I'm gonna jump in. By the way, sorry if the dogs are barking.
That's all good.
Sometimes, they hear animals outside or whatever, so I apologize about that. But before we get into it, I actually want to draw some attention to this here thing that I have. Can you see what I have in my hand?
Yeah, like an envelope, autograph.
It's an envelope. That's exactly what it is. Yep. An envelope. That's my signature on the front. And inside is a letter. Now, I'm going to show it to you, but just briefly, because we're going to come back to this towards the end of the talk, okay? Here's the little letter. I typed this up about a week ago, give or take. I sat down, I jotted a couple of things down, and I printed it. And I did this because I wanted to try to think, like, what could I do in this virtual setting to make things as fair as possible? Mm-hmm. So I printed it, and I've typed it, and you can see that there's a couple of things that are highlighted. Mm-hmm. Those are important. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into the envelope, and I'm going to seal it up officially, okay? And another little added layer of security, kind of like 2 factors of authenticity. I have the envelopes, and what I'm going to do is ask you, do you have a book by you or something that you can grab with words in it, a magazine, something close? If not, just say no. Arm's reach only.
It's like a manual. I don't know if that'll help.
Perfect. What is that, for like an air conditioning or something?
It's for a deep freezer. My wife's deep freezer for all her breast milk.
All right. There you go. I saw higher, so I didn't know the brand name. All right, here's what I want you to do. Open up to a totally random page, okay. Anywhere you want. And the first word that you see, if you like it, if you don't like it, change pages, whatever you want. If you like it, tell me that word, because I'm going to write that word down to kind of verify that we're doing this live.
Important.
Important. That's a great word. This is an important word.
This is all in different language. That's the only word in English on here. That's yeah, I'm in the France section. French section.
All right. Perfect. French, you're reading the French manual? All right. So, I don't know if you can see this. I've written the word important on it. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put it in this little holder thing here, leaving it standing up. And I'm going to put it all the way back here. Can you still see it? Are we still in frame?
Yeah, it's still in frame. I can't like read important on it or anything.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
As long as you can see that
Yep.
that no one's going to touch it. It should be in full sight this entire time.
Yep.
And there's going to be a really mind-blowing ending when we get to that. So I'm pretty hyped for that.
Yeah, man.
So now that we did something for you, let's do something with you that everybody else can do. Those of you who are watching, if you are watching this not live, pause it. This is your opportunity to get up and go grab a deck of cards. Ideally, a normal deck with clubs, hearts, spades, diamonds. If that's not the deck that you have, whatever deck you have, we can work with, like a tarot deck. But regular cards will work best. So grab a deck, Corin, if you have.
Yep. And this, I will say, you did mention to just have a deck of cards with me when we do this. So
yeah, I did mention. Yep. So that is a good point. He asked me. He said, "Do I need anything before we get going?" And I asked him to grab, a couple small things like a bill and a deck of cards and some other things. So that way I could teach him some stuff as well.
I got my deck. I don't know if I should have took it out of their thing yet.
Oh, perfect. And we're both using bicycle decks, which is great. You can take them out of the box.
There's a free app, bicyclecards.com.
Oh, that's the old one. They got rid of the free app logo.
Oh, for real?
That's my box. Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably an
People
expert on like
about it. Magicians were like, "Get rid of that shit," and they finally reprinted.
You know, like the Air Jordans of like every card thing, probably like sneakerheads know.
Dude, yeah, I was just about to say it's like the sneakerheads. If you can see it, I won't go crazy, but this.
Yeah,
this
I want to ask you about all that shit.
Playing cards. We could definitely talk about that. Let's keep the ball rolling on this one, so I don't lose my train of thought. But we could definitely talk cards in a moment. So your deck is shuffled for all intents and purposes. But if it's not, and if you don't feel like it is, give it a quick mix.
It's got one joker in it. Should I leave that in there?
You can leave it in. You can take it out. That's up to you. People at home, you can leave the jokers in.
Cool. All right,
or actually, let's just take them out. I'll take the joker out.
Okay. I got
let's take them out. Just so we don't have any confusion.
Joker's gone.
Because sometimes people have 3 jokers. They call that an extra joker. I'm just going to take both of mine out.
Does a certain company do an extra joker? Is that like a thing?
Yeah, it's actually not necessarily a certain company, but a specific brand.
Oh, really?
So you see that? Yeah, you see that a lot with the Aladdin playing cards. They give you 3 jokers. I don't know where the history behind that came from. Good point. I want to look that up.
Yeah, that is a good point. Where the history of the joker came from. Okay, I'm shuffled.
So your cards are shuffled. And by the way, let me just see the faces of your cards to make sure that they're totally normal, spread all the way through them, the other way to the top. Okay, and then square them up and everything. So you have a regular deck, and as far as you know, it's a full deck.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm 98% sure it's a full deck.
I think this should be fine. All right, hold the cards in your hand. Here's what I want you to try to do. Now, this one is for Corin first, and then we're going to do the second one after for everyone else watching.
People are going to laugh.
Here's what I want you to do.
This shows our Instagram friendship. It's Corin.
Corin. Dude, you have like the most difficult name in the world. Come on.
No, I'm fucking like... Okay, it's in my hand.
Oh, man. We should just call you Jed.
Yeah, right, that works.
All right, do me a favor. Hold the deck in your hand, and I want you to pick up about less than half of the deck.
Okay.
Anywhere you want. Now, before you do anything, just pick it up a little bit. If you don't feel like that's the right spot, put it down and maybe pick up less cards, or maybe pick up a little bit more. Whatever you want. So I want you to cut exactly where you want. Less. You've done that?
Yeah.
Now I want you to take that top packet, turn it face up. Okay. And what you'll do this time is you're going to cut a second time, but cut a little bit deeper than where you cut the first time.
Okay.
It doesn't matter where, but just go deeper than the first cut.
Okay.
Okay, you got it?
Yeah.
And then now turn that packet over, that whole packet.
Okay.
Very good. Now, in your hand, you probably have a stack of face-up cards. I want you to spread through all of those face-up cards. Remove them from the pack.
Okay.
So just separate them like I'm doing, and then turn them back face down.
Okay.
And we're going to back onto the bottom normal.
On the bottom
of the deck.
So
now you have a random card on the top of the deck. I don't want you to look at it yet.
Okay.
Okay. So now you have a random card at the top of the deck that you don't know, I don't know. You cut to randomly. If you would have cut at a different position, we'd be totally different location. Okay. I'm going to try to see if I can get this right now. This is all just vibes right now. This is vibes through the internet.
Bugged out.
Okay, I'm sensing it's a black card. My first gut was telling me a 6 of spades, but I don't think it's a spade. So I'm going to go back. I think it's a club. Interesting. This is interesting. I think this is the card. I think that you might have the 2 of clubs on the top of your deck. Turn it over. Let's see.
That's bugged out.
Is that a match?
That's crazy. Yo.
And you shuffled that deck that's at home. There's no way that I could have controlled your cards in any way.
Bravo. 2 for 2, man. That's impressive.
2 for 2.
That's very good, man.
Cool, man. Cool. Now, one with you, Corin, that will involve everybody.
Okay.
So keep the deck out.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Give them another little mix in your hands. You can shuffle them like this. You can riffle shuffle them and give them a fancy bridge if you want. Whatever you want. Just make sure that they're random.
Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're good?
Yeah.
Now, what I want you to do is take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards. Take out 9 cards in your hand.
4, 5, 6.
Any 9 cards. You don't have to look at the faces if you don't want. You got them?
Yeah, 9 are out.
Oh. Okay, cool. So put the rest of the deck away. Just use just the 9 cards. And everybody, I'll give everyone a chance. Again, people who are watching later, you can always pause this so you have the luxury of time. Give the cards a little bit of a mix, again, if you want, just so they're not in any particular order. Okay? Now, what I want you to do is once you feel like you're satisfied that they're mixed, okay, I want you to look at that top card.
Okay.
And remember it.
Mm-hmm.
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Now what I want you to do is take 1 card and 2 cards from the bottom and put that on top of that, just so your card is no longer on the top of the deck.
Okay,
so just take 2 random cards from the bottom and put them on top of your cards.
Okay.
And you remember your card, yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So just like people playing cards, they have names, just like us, right? Most people, they have normal names, right? He's trying not to spit out a drink. But we have first names, we have middle names, and we have last names, just like playing cards. Mm-hmm. Playing cards, they all share the same middle name of, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to lie to me, okay? So whatever your card is in your mind, you're going to think of a different one. So let's just say your card was a 6. Maybe you'll think of a king. But don't forget your card, okay?
Okay.
So here's what I want you to do. Onto the table, we're going to spell out just the first name of the card that you're trying. So if you're trying to trick me with a king, you can tell me, for instance, what is the card you're trying to trick me with? The card that's not yours.
6 of hearts.
Okay, so we'll do it one piece at a time. So what I want you to do is spell out 1 letter for each card. So you'll do S-I-X. Deal those cards out onto the table.
S. So like next to each other?
Just in a pile.
Oh, okay.
Face down pile.
S-I-X.
Great. And then with the rest of the cards, put them on top of that pile and pick up the whole pile.
Okay.
Okay. And now you'll do O-F.
O-F.
And you'll drop it down.
Okay.
And you said the card that you were trying to trick me with was the 6 of hearts. So your card is not a 6 and it's not a heart, most likely, right? It's okay if it is a heart or a 6. But I don't want you to say anymore, okay?
Okay.
But whatever it is, the example you gave me is hearts. So if yours was a diamond, club, or a spade, you're going to spell out that suit. Make sure you do it plural with an S. So we'll do hearts in your instance.
Okay.
H-E-A-R-T-S. 1 card for each letter. The leftover cards go back on top.
The leftover cards go back on top. Got it. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep. Now, ordinarily, this would be an amazing trick if you turned over that top card and it was your card, right? Mm-hmm. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Turn it over. Is that your card? No, right?
No.
No, because it doesn't work that way,
okay.
Right? Things just don't work that way, right?
Uh-uh.
But when we're doing something like this, we have to realize that the only reason I'm on this live is because of you. Mm-hmm. We're here on your channel, having fun, talking magic. So this all wouldn't be possible without you. So what I want you to do is take the rest of the cards, just like you had. You can put that card back on top.
Okay.
And I want you to spell out your name. 1 letter for each card.
C-O-R-I-N. N.
And I want everyone who's watching to spell out his name too. And I want you to turn over that N and tell me, is that your card?
Yep, it was a 3 of hearts.
That was the card, the 3 of hearts.
That's bugged out, dude. That's bugged out.
So that's a little trick that everybody can do. I'll run through it with you real quick, real quick, just because I don't want to waste too much time on it.
It's good I corrected my name
one.
before the trick, because if I added that W in there, it would have been the 9 of hearts.
Yeah, Corin, right.
No, that's bugged out, man. It's crazy shit.
Yep, exactly. We got to thank your parents for naming you with only 5 letters. That's funny, actually. All right, so I'll walk everyone through it. It's actually a really simple trick. It's a fun trick to do because it doesn't require any work. This isn't something I do when I'm working for money, but it's a fun thing to do over the internet just like this, and I could teach everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So real simple, 9 cards. Everyone take 9 cards. You mix them up. Now, what you need to do is memorize the 3rd card from the top of the deck. Now, before, you'll notice I asked you to remember the top card.
Mm-hmm.
And then I told you to put 2 cards on top of it so it's no longer on the top.
Yep.
Basically putting your card into the 3rd position from the top of the deck.
Got it.
But if you want to streamline it, and you can do this with one deck. You can give 9 cards out to 3 or 4 people and at a house party or whatever, and you can do this on 3 people and they're all going to get it right. So it's pretty cool. It works for everyone. So you have 9 cards, and you ask everyone to spread the cards out in front of them like they're playing Go Fish or whatever card you'd hold your hand like this. And you're going to ask them to remember the 3rd card from the top. Now, it's important that you remember the 3rd card from the top, and you're saying from the top of the deck, because I'm right-handed. I spread the cards this way.
Mm-hmm.
Left-handed people spread cards this way.
Yep.
And if you say 3rd card from the left, they may accidentally think of the 3rd card from the bottom.
Got it.
So it's important that you just tell them the 3rd card from the top so you know the direction. So in our instance right here, I have the Ace of Hearts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That stays 3rd from the top. Now, it doesn't matter what card they spell. As long as they spell a card, they can spell their card. I actually like to do it where I have them spell the card that they're thinking of.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense. In your instance, I did a little bit of like a lie detector. Think of a different card, and we still got your card. It might have made things a little bit more confusing.
Yeah.
So for all intents and purposes, you have them remember that 3rd card, and then now you're going to have them spell their card with 1 card for each letter. So in our instance, Ace, A, C, E.
Mm-hmm.
And then you place the remaining cards
On top.
Mm-hmm. Now you do O, F, and the remaining cards go on top of those. And then you do the suit. Again, clubs, hearts, spades, diamonds. All of the suits will have the S attached to them.
Got it.
So we'll do, in this instance, H-E-A-R-T-S. And then the remaining cards go on top. Now, the way I do this trick, and coincidentally, my name, Danny, and Corin both share the same number of letters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was able to have it work with your name tonight. But I usually have the person that I'm working with spell out Danny.
Oh.
So in your instance, this will always work if you have them spell out your name. Who are at home who are like, oh, shit, my name is not 5 letters. You can spell the word magic. M-A-G-I-C, and the C will be the card. As long as you follow exactly what I said and the way I explained it, it will always work. No matter what card they're thinking of, no matter what card they spell, it just mathematically will always bring that card back to the top. It's one of those modern marvels that I don't know how it works, but it gets me every time.
That's bugged out. So how much does
It's so
math?
simple,
How much
but
does
it's
math
fun.
like go hand in hand with magic?
A lot, actually. A lot of what I do, the way I think as a magician, comes from my background in engineering.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the way that I'm analytical about things and the way I analyze. You know, I remember one of the first projects that we did as a freshman in college in Binghamton was a reverse engineering project. We all had to go buy something from Walmart. I'm pretty sure we bought like a George Foreman grill, my team. And we had to rip it apart and reverse engineer it and figure out how it works and then figure out a way to improve the design. And it didn't click with me until freshman year of college. I was like, whoa, that's how I should be thinking about all my magic. Think about what's my effect? What is my outcome? What do I want to achieve? What's the end goal? And then I just have to figure out how I need to take the steps to get there. So I like to apply that kind of thinking. So math and science and that analytical aspect definitely plays a lot into magic, but there's also the technical side of it. Sleight of hand.
Yeah.
You know, the dexterity of the cards, taking a card just like this and making it vanish.
Yeah.
You know.
That's wild.
So, yeah.
So how
There's a bunch of different elements.
so how often do you have to, persuade someone? Like, do you get a hard-nosed drunk person at a party that's like, use my name, and you got to try and convince them to keep, like, in that trick, I'm sure in person you're doing a lot more like intricate tricks.
Sure. That's a really important question, and that's a question that a lot of people struggle with when they're learning magic. They say, "Oh, what am I going to do if this goes wrong, or if I get a little pushback from somebody?" And I think that to me, it's just something I've learned how to deal with people, and I've become so confident with my art that people don't really give me pushback anymore. And I noticed when I was in high school, maybe it was because I was dealing with younger kids, but even when I performed for adults and I wasn't confident, I would notice that pushback. But once I was able to control the situation and be confident, people just let you show them what you're about to do. And occasionally you'll get a jerk who, wants to kind of stir some trouble, but it's very, very uncommon.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really happen too often to me.
Yeah, I'm sure like persuasion is a huge thing. And I think the atmosphere that a magician usually is in is like a positive, good vibe that like you're in control
Right.
of the situation.
Right.
And as I remember when I first met you, you were doing a lot of magic for your frat brothers. So I'm sure you had a lot of time back in the days of like just frat brothers like either messing with you or like,
Yep.
giving you feedback that might have been constructive criticism or something.
Absolutely. I learned so many great lessons just from performing on real people, because it's like going into the trenches. That's when you learn. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna interact with somebody, and they're gonna give you a reaction that you weren't expecting. Even though it may still be a good reaction, you learn something from it. You go, oh, that's interesting. He reacted this way, and that shows me that this means this. And it makes you think about it from another perspective. And then that way, the next time you do it, you're hitting it from a new angle. You're kind of approaching it differently. And I think the pushback, that kind of a thing, doesn't happen to me anymore because I'm such a seasoned pro.
Yeah.
That people are just so used to being blown away by the stuff that I do in person that they just want to, be a part of the ride and go for it. And again, you brought up a really good point. I'm in positive environments. A lot of the times back then in college, I was performing for friends and people on the street. I had a couple of restaurants that paid me, like $100 a night to come in and to do some magic at a bar, at the bar area of the restaurant while people were waiting. And I've had things like that. But in the common scenario where I'm performing now, I'm at a high-end corporate event or a tech conference, or I'm doing a private party for a family, and they're paying me good money, and the people that they're celebrating are important to them. And they generally, the people who are watching me perform, realize the fun that I'm bringing to the atmosphere. And, they don't want to be that one guy who's giving the guy who's making everyone smile a hard time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, that's
maybe
a good
it's
point.
maybe it's just that's why I get away with it more.
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's like that person looks like more of a dick if they're, just being obnoxious. And that's in any situation, anywhere you go, if someone's just being like off the walls and it's just obnoxious.
And you're right. You can't avoid that. You'll always have that. I would say like 90% of the people, let me give you like an example.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a corporate party for a bank, right? So let's just say ABN AMRO hires me to do a corporate event for 200 of their local employees and some of the people that they bring in from out of state. And they're at a big hall. They're having cocktails and food. I'm walking around. I'm mingling. A big part about what I do is reading the room. I read people. That's what I do for a living. And I'm going to do some psychological magic with you in a little bit too, some mentalism. But I read people for a living. So I spend a lot of time when I first get there looking at people, taking in energies like, okay, this guy looks like he's got some nervous energy. This lady looks like, she's in a bad mood. And I can pick up on that. And sometimes if I see someone's in a bad mood, but I know that they're approachable, then it's a great reason to go do magic because I can change their mood. If I see someone's in a bad mood, but I can sense that they want to be left alone, they're not the type of person to talk, then I'll just avoid them, unless I'm forced into a social circle with that person, and I'll try to bring them in. But if I sense that they don't want to be a part of it or they're skeptical, then I know how to treat that person in a way that doesn't put the spotlight on them and makes them feel comfortable so they don't give me that pushback. So again, it comes back to reading people, reading your audience, and performing the right way for the people.
Yeah. How much is like public speaking and just like your personality of like having no fear going up to people like play? Because I know obviously there's different types of magician. I was just watching David Blaine that you got to approach people if you're a magician. But how
Right.
much does your personality and just being not afraid to go up to people like take into account?
It definitely helps.
Hmm.
I would say that, I used to be an introvert,
Hmm.
and I actually prefer being introverted. I prefer not seeing. I actually am enjoying the quarantine. I get to spend more time with my wife and, my dogs. We get to,
Same
sit
with me.
around, and I get to play video games and lounge. And, I don't get the luxury of doing that all the time. But I am an extrovert in the sense that when I'm in a social scenario, I do well in them. So I do think, that does help your question. I do think that being able to talk to people, being comfortable and confident with approaching people is helpful. But every single show that I do, even though I don't feel fear, I always have like a little anxiety and a little bit of
Butterflies or whatever.
butterflies
Not
and
actual,
just
maybe
like
actual butterflies if you're a
anxious.
magician.
Right. Yeah, butterflies start flying out everywhere. I get anxious before a gig, and I get restless because I'm excited. So I actually read somewhere once, I think it was a Wired magazine, tech magazine, maybe about 10, 15 years ago I read this, but I read somewhere that the chemicals inside your brain that are produced during excitement are the same exact chemicals produced in your brain during nervousness. So when you feel that feeling of nerve wracking, that anxiety, that stress,
Hmm.
if you're able to just change your mindset and change that anxiousness, it goes a lot further because it's the same emotion. So I do that a lot. This was my first time doing magic for anybody in a couple of months.
Yeah.
The last gig I did was on Valentine's Day. I did a great family show. I went into Manhattan. I did a show for 15 people in their living room, and I did a 45-minute stand-up show in their Manhattan living room, up in their penthouse. And that was the last show that I did before the whole Corona set in. And even coming on here, I was excited.
I get nervous every time I speak to someone.
I was getting butterflies, and yeah, I think that's normal. And if anything, I would be concerned if I was doing a show, whether I'm doing a close-up show or a stage show, because I do stage shows for thousands of people or hundreds of people. I think the most that I ever did was for like 2,200, but usually they're smaller shows. But regardless, whenever I think I would be concerned if I'm showing up to a show or a close-up event and I had no nervousness. That's a sign that I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
If I'm just like totally cool as a cucumber,
Something's
something's
up.
wrong.
Yeah.
So,
How
you
close?
gotta, it's kind of a double-edged sword, but you gotta appreciate it.
Exactly. How close do you think that line of like anxiety to confidence is? Like, how easy is it to switch from like that nervousness into like you got to flip it to like now confident? Is there something you do before you go on stage? Is there any like superstition things that you do as a magician?
You know what? It's funny because I read somewhere once that, if you just take a couple of slow, deep breaths and you pinch at this, pressure point, it will help. And I tried that and that didn't work. And I was doing a really important show. So important that I can't even remember which show it was by example. But I remember I was doing a really important show at one point and I was super stressed about it. And I have another magic friend of mine, a mentalist. He's a mentalist and a hypnotist. His name is Lance Sinclair. I'll plug him, Mentalist Lance Sinclair
Shout out
on
Lance.
Instagram. And he's dope actually. And he does a lot of like stuff with confidence and how these things hold you down in your life from achieving your true potential. And he taught me something once about getting into like a meditative state and super relaxed and set where I needed it to be. And once I got my mind into that position, had me do this thing where I just rolled my fingers like this. I don't know if I'm seeing it on the camera. And supposedly that's what they call an anchor in the hypnosis world. And I was told through his power of suggestion that anytime I'm feeling that stress, if I just go like this, it kind of will me. And actually, I've been doing that before shows. It's probably only going to work for someone like me or someone who lets that idea seep into time. But now I do this right before I go out and take a couple of slow, deep breaths and just ground myself.
Yeah, it's like the Johnny
But yeah,
Manziel.
it's a tough line. Exactly.
No, but I mean, like whatever works, and you're right. I mean, a lot of it could just be like a placebo effect or something like that, where it's just you're doing something that is comfortable, it feels normal to you, you've done it before, and that is all you need to get you, rocking again.
Yeah. Yeah, like I did a gig. I've done a couple of gigs with the New York Yankees
Oh, nice.
for the players and for the management. Just recently, actually, I would have been doing some more stuff with the upcoming season, but obviously we know where the world of sports is at right now.
Yep.
And I remember that I'm sitting there and I'm performing for Sanchez. And if you know Sanchez,
Yeah,
he
Gary
doesn't speak
Sanchez.
any English. I
No.
mean, he speaks English, but not much.
Hmm.
And what the great thing about Magic is that you're able to communicate sometimes non-verbally. Magic is universal. It's a universal language.
Yep. Smile is
So
all
if
you
you're
need.
able to tell the story, if you're able to convey without having to say words, people can understand. If you say, like, take a card, look at it, don't let me see it, you could use body language to get the same kind of message across. So I was doing some really great Magic with him, but he was such a ball buster, and he kept making me so nervous because he was like, trying to look at the cards, and there was nothing I was hiding, but he was just so suspicious. And it made me nervous because I'm sitting there and Brian Cashman, the general manager of the New York Yankees, is about to walk up and approach this group, and I'm getting like pushback from the catcher.
Oh,
So I'm sitting there like, oh man, like, what am I gonna do? So I had to prevent myself from, I was excited, but I was also nervous that now he's gonna mess me up. So I, instead of letting that get to my head, I just kind of took a couple of deep breaths and acted like no big deal. And Cashman came over, and I actually put him in charge. I had him do everything, and I blew him away. And he like took his cap off, slammed it on the ground. He's like, I'm done. He walked away.
that's amazing. What's that feeling like when you just blow someone's mind like that?
Oh, I love it, man. I mean, that's why I do Magic. It's all about the experience for people. You do Magic not to fool people, not to make them feel like, oh, I didn't get that, and to make people feel frustrated because they don't understand it. It's to give them a sense of wonder. That's what Magic's all about. It's about escaping from reality, even if it's just for a moment.
Yeah.
Even just for the small bit that you're on here talking to me or seeing me do something with your own deck of cards. It makes you think, and
Yeah.
if it makes you smile or think in a different way, I think that's a good thing, and that's what I thrive off of, the reactions of my audience.
Yeah, that's amazing, man, and I think that's very like admirable that I know the whole time since we're talking I've been smiling, and like I said, I think Magic is something it's a universal language that it just makes people happy. So for someone to want to pursue that career and like just bring joy to people's lives is something that's like really like it's awesome to know someone like that.
Yeah.
When you were thinking about becoming a magician in college, I'm sure is it fairly easy like to get gigs, because it's like almost like a top doctor. I'm sure there's not a lot of great are there a lot of great magicians out there?
There are a lot of great magicians out there. Fortunately, it's like a lot of fish in a really big pond.
Mm-hmm.
So even though there are a lot of great magicians out there, the pond is huge.
Yeah.
So I think that that's one of the benefits. I think also one of the benefits is that I'm a pretty humble guy, but I know that where I've established myself here in New York and the East Coast over the last just 3 years of deciding to take what was a glorified hobby my entire life, into a full-time professional career. I can say that where I'm at now, despite these last 3 months of not working at all,
Yeah, everyone's in the same boat.
No, I know. But where I built myself to, I can say that I'm one of the top performers in Manhattan. And that means a lot. I've had the opportunity to perform for celebrities and athletes, and for huge venues, and get flown out by the creator of Power Rangers to his multi-billion-dollar, he's a billionaire,
That's
but his
amazing.
multi-million-dollar mansion in Beverly Hills, to do a 45-minute show and fly back to New York.
Wow.
So I think that because of the fact that I was able to do everything almost right, you make mistakes along the line, but I did the right things for the business, and I was able to grow it the right way, that my business took off. It took a little while. It took about 1.5 years. So the first 1.5 years was slow, and then like the second 1.5 years, it was just like it blew up. And I was able to build it up to that point where, I'm confident asking for top dollar. And there is a lot of competition, and there's a lot of competition who charge a lot less than me.
Yeah.
But it's okay, because
Quality might not
we're
be as good or
dealing,
something.
well, quality, yes, there's definitely going to be difference there, but we're also dealing with different markets.
Yeah.
So, maybe you have that guy who's here and he's doing, $350 for a birthday show, which is still, when most people look at that, he's doing a kids party, $350 for an hour. That's a lot of money. Most people would dream to make $350 an hour.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that guy is only maybe doing one show a week.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas somebody like me who's charging 5, 6, 7, 8 times that, depending, maybe less, maybe more, it took a while to get to that point.
Yeah,
so
sure.
it didn't just happen. I didn't just say, hey, I'm going to become a magician, and I made a website and started, it was slow. I built a website. My fiance at the time, surprised me with a birthday gift while I was working as an engineer. She had my magic website designed for me.
Yeah, I checked it out. It's amazing.
Thanks, man. It's actually going through a little bit of a rebranding now.
Oh, okay. Well, good
for those of you who are watching, DanielNicholasMagic.com, and on Instagram, Daniel Nicholas Magic. Hit me up on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm going to definitely be working on getting some more content out, given the circumstances, and realizing that being a little bit more digitally savvy is never a bad thing, always a good thing. So I'm trying to work on that. But it's been a lot of fun. There's so many different things that we're talking about. I kind of lost track a little bit.
No, that's amazing. And that gets into something we were talking about a little bit beforehand, before we got on air, was you had, I think a buddy of yours or something mentioned in like someone's chat that he could blow their mind with some magic or something like that.
Yeah, I'm about to start doing that.
That's what I was going to say, is like how important is this time to, like, what have you done how do you stay fresh during this quarantine time? How do you learn maybe some technology tricks and stuff like that to, when we get out of this, to maybe ease into getting back in person?
That's a great question. I'm always working on new material. First and foremost, I'm always trying to sharpen my wheel. Back in the day, I used to practice all the time. I had a new piece of magic, a new mind reading demonstration, and I would have the chance to practice it, work on with friends, my wife, random people that I would bump out to at the deli. Hey, you got a minute, while they're waiting for their food already?
That's
and they'd be
awesome.
like, yeah, sure, and show them. Now it's at the point where I don't practice anymore, and it's kind of a bad thing, but it's a good thing. It's a double-edged sword, because what happens is I take out a book or I create something new that I'm working on, and I'll run through it once or twice just to get the foundations. That way I can perform it well enough where I'm not going to look bad. And my practice now over the last 3 years has become jump into the fire and do it. So I learn something new, I bring it to a gig. I might not do it on the guest of honor or the person who's writing my check, but I'll find somebody who's easygoing, who already likes me, and I'll bust out the new piece that I'm working on. And usually it goes over really well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my chance to put it in right into the trenches, go right into the work atmosphere. And I learn better that way now, because now I'm dealing with real people, real scenario. It's not ideal for any magicians watching this. Definitely practice before you go out and show people. But when you're a pro, a full-time performer, a professional, you don't have the luxury of spending hours and months on a new piece of material that you're feeling the urgency to get into a show or to show people.
Is it almost like comedy in a sense, where you have to work your stuff out a little bit, where a trick could, you could learn something new about a trick in the middle of it?
Yep, absolutely. Every single time. So I say this, I've never performed the same trick twice.
Wow.
And the reason that I say that is because it's a play on words. Of course, I've performed the same tricks twice, but let's just look at one trick, for example. If I do this trick for the first person that I try it on, or even let's just say it's a polish trick, and I'm so used to the routining and the way that the story goes with the trick, I learned something from the interaction with you that gives me insight on what I can do differently the next time. And every single time I take a new lesson, however big or small it may be, and I apply it to the next time I do that. So the tricks are constantly evolving, kind of like a comedian, You'll learn, like, oh, I said something really funny in that line and it got a good laugh. What was that? So then you remember it. Now you say it the next time, but then nobody laughs. Or you realize that it would be more effective if you change the wording of the joke, the line. And you have to be funny in magic. I mean, I'm not a comedian by any means, but I know that when I approach people, I have to make them feel comfortable. And what's one way to do that? Make them laugh. So, I don't walk up and tell them a knock-knock joke, but I just use topical humor. And I just use that as a way to connect, and I think that helps with people.
Yeah, I'm sure conversation is probably so important, and just like any magic trick, even outside of the joke, is just being able to hold a conversation with
To
someone.
connect, right?
Yeah. Um, no, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How tough is it? And maybe it's not tough to like if you see a fellow magician of yours do a trick, and I guess I don't know. I've always been told a magician never tells his secrets or anything like that.
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
you guys brainstorm? Like, how do you bounce ideas off of each
It's a
other
good
without
question
maybe not
'cause
giving away an idea of your?
no, that's a great question because so the old saying is rule number one in magic, right? Is a magician never reveals his secrets.
Yep.
And everyone knows this, right? Even if you're not a magician, you know that's the golden rule in magic. But I never thought about this until maybe a year or two ago. I was at a show, and I think I used that line in a trick, and I said, rule number one is you never reveal the trick, and rule number two is you never repeat the trick, because once is a trick, twice is a lesson. But I'm going to repeat it for you anyway. And that was the line that I said, and they laughed. And then the lady was looking at me thoughtfully, and I saw that she had this deep look in her eyes, like she's thinking of something really serious to say right now. And she paused and she said, if a magician never reveals his secrets, where do the other magicians learn their secrets from? And I was like, mind blown. I had never thought of that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a funny way to look at things. But
so you guys
like
do
the
have
chicken or
a
the
message
egg.
board somewhere where you're.
Yeah, we magicians do share information with each other. If you know where to find the secrets of magic, you can go and find them. And answering your question with like my buddies, one of the guys actually, I don't know if you can see that poster behind me.
Yep.
This was from a really big Manhattan show that a two-man show called Mind Games.
Mm-hmm.
That's me on the right, and the guy next to me, his name is Jason Ladani.
That's
he
you
looks
on
a
the
lot
right?
taller than me. This is me right here.
What?
And that's Jay. Yeah.
It looks different from back here. You look
Does
like
it?
you have like a little like Univision Spanish flair to you in that picture.
Yeah, definitely. I got my salsa frita going on
You
over
do
there.
a little bit. That was your.
But yeah,
that was the Gary
I don't know,
Sanchez
man.
show.
That's funny. But yeah, so he's actually in the magic world very well known.
Mm-hmm.
He's a creator, so he's like a magician's magician. So
Okay.
he's written and published several books. He's done live recorded lectures that other magicians purchase and watch and learn from, kind of like if you were to enroll in a college class. Same kind of an idea. And even when we hang out, of course we share information with each other, but there's nothing like fooling the guy who I know knows more magic than, any of the other people that I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
So, we do hold some secrets back, and eventually we share. And I think part of it is to push each other forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, I'll do something, and he'll say, you just fooled me. And I'll be like, you really don't know what I just did or how I did that? And he'll say, no, I really don't know. And, I want to, that I also want to just soak in that moment of having fooled somebody who knows. And then eventually I'll tell them,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of how it happens.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, it's got to be like such a good feeling to, get over on someone who is pretty much the rule book on how to do all the tricks.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember watching Penn and Teller had a show that I love.
Fool Us?
Fool Us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
I have a love-hate relationship with that show.
Really? What's your love-hate with it?
Okay, so I have a different hate for the show than most magicians' complaints. Most magicians are like, oh man, they're revealing magic, even though they kind of tiptoe around the secrets.
Yeah.
They use code words.
That's yeah.
But as you know, they pretty much call out.
They push
how
the
they think
envelope
it's
on
done.
how. Yeah.
They push the envelope. That's the right way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of magicians are up in arms about that because of the whole magician never reveals his secrets. And that part doesn't bother me as much. I hold true to that adage, but that part doesn't bother me. What bothers me about the show, and the obvious reasons of why I love it, I won't address. It's just a fun, exciting show to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that bothers me about the show is the message that it sends to the people who are watching, both people at home and in the studios who are part of that audience. For me, I feel like it belittles the experience of magic for them, because they're sitting there watching two top magicians break down and analyze how other magicians on their show are doing their effects with the intent of fooling them. That's the intent. And this goes back to what I said before. My intent as a magician is not to fool my audience. My intent is to entertain. I may need to fool you in order to entertain you, but my number one goal is to give you a good time. And with that show, because of the nature of the show, it puts into the spectator's mind all about, oh, how does he do it? How does he do it? How does he do it? And it takes the magic away from what they're showing, in my opinion. And that's probably the only slight I have against that show. But other than that, I think it's great because it's giving more exposure to my art, and it's keeping people interested in one of the oldest arts in the world. Magic is the oldest art profession in the world.
Yeah, I was trying to look up some history of magic, and like I couldn't. There was some stuff that I don't even know the dates, and I don't want to butcher any dates. But like,
sure.
What is the history of magic from what you know? Because like obviously like the witchcraft stuff is magic, right?
Way back before witchcraft. I mean, if you think I won't go into a whole topic of religion because this we could talk about this for hours.
Our audience is probably ready for it.
Yeah, they're probably ready for it. And maybe this gives us a chance to do this again some other time too. So, but if you look back, and I'm not a very religious guy, but if you look back to like the Bible, there are a lot of discussions and researchers who would refer to Jesus as a magician. You know, you hear the stories of Jesus turning water into wine and Jesus walking across the water. And who split the Red Sea? Was that Moses? Not Jesus.
Yeah,
but,
maybe. Yeah.
You know, you hear all these things about these biblical heroes of these feats, and a lot of the times they were using, you know, and I'm not putting down religion, but they were using techniques that magicians and shamans from their time were using to
persuade people
rather than entertain people. It only became a modern art form for entertainment in the late 1800s. The father of modern magic was Jean Eugene Robert Houdin, and he's like late 1800s. Actually, that's where Houdini got his name. Okay. Because if you add an I believe in French to a word, it means to be like. So Houdini is Howden with an I at the end of it. Wow. So it's to be like Howden. Huh. Even though he actually, ironically enough, spent a lot of his efforts trying to expose some of the stuff that he did, but he was very much inspired by his work. Wow. And it wasn't until, you know, the turn of the century, 1900s, where it really became a major form of entertainment through the vaudevillian era, eventually through radio. Dunninger was one of the leaders in radio and Animan. And then you had your late night talk shows, and you had Johnny Carson, and Johnny Carson was a magician. I don't know if you know that.
No.
You know, and there's a lot of celebrities. Actually, you should look this up later, but look up celebrities who are magicians. Anybody watching this, go ahead and look this up. You'll actually find out more celebrities that you didn't know, that you know of, that you didn't know were magicians.
Wow.
One good example of that is Neil Patrick Harris, Doogie Howser.
Yeah, of course.
He's a magician. He was the president of the Magic Castle and the Society of American Magicians at one point, I believe. Wow. And, you know, I think he actually even did a little bit of magic one night when he hosted one of those award shows.
Yeah. I feel like I remember seeing
But most people don't know that. And there are a lot of magicians out there. Steve Martin was a magician. The guy from Seinfeld who plays George Costanza, he's a magician.
Yeah, well, I was
actually...
My bad.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was actually in a live chat with magicians about 3 weeks ago. And you know Larry Wilmore?
Yeah.
Yeah, from The Daily Show.
Yep, and he had the Larry Wilmore show.
Yeah, and he had his own show. He's a magician. The guy's a top-notch magician. I had no idea, and he joined in on a Zoom chat with a bunch of my magic buddies.
Wow.
And we were all just shooting the shit, you know. And I'm like, oh, Larry Wilmore, you're a knuckle buster with cards? Like, I had no idea. So it was kind of cool to see that, and I think there's more of that than you'd realize.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, and I mean, I could sort of see it just because magicians and performing and like the energy you guys have, it almost goes hand in hand. It's like you're performing, you're a performer, and it's like I could see the transition after, you know, performing to say, hey, let me try and do a Broadway show, or let me do an acting class or something like that. Have you ever thought to get into acting or anything, or is that just a totally different
You know
realm?
what? After college, after going full time, I looked into maybe signing up. After I, quit my engineering career and became a magician, I looked into signing up for, like a local community college, like an acting 101 class. Unfortunately, I never got around to doing it, but I think those would be really valuable for me. I'm always doing things. I mean, if you can see my library right here, on this side I have all playing cards, and on this side I have all my books.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the best magic secrets are in books.
Yeah.
I think my oldest book is from like 1850, and it's an authentic. And then I have a couple of older books, but most of them are reprints of older books, older publications. And that's where some of the best stuff is in. And the reason I love learning from books so much is because there's so much more room for interpretation. You take a book out and you're reading a visual effect that interacts with people and interpreting it your own way. And a lot of the times, here's a great example. There's a more recent book that came out by a magician who I'm a big fan of. And I read a piece in his book. I learned it and I interpreted it the way that I understood it to be, explained in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it that way. And it ended up being really awesome. And I ironed out all the kinks, and great trick. I met him live last year, and I went to go show him the trick, and he's like, "Oh, that's really interesting. I've never seen anyone do it this way." I'm like, "What do you mean? That's how you wrote it in the book?" He's like, "No, this is how you do it." And he showed me, and his way was like totally different. It got to the same outcome, but I misinterpreted it somehow, or my perception was slightly off. And I think that's a really valuable tool, because now in the modern century, in the last 20 years, magicians have been learning a lot from DVDs and online downloads and lectures, and you're seeing the magic put right in front of you.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we just did right now.
Yeah.
And you interpret it that way, and then you almost fall into the trap of young magicians do this. I have a student who's 9 years old, and I teach him a trick, and then he's like a parrot. He'll do exactly what I do.
Mm-hmm.
He'll say what I say, and I try to teach him. His name is Diamond. That's actually his real first name.
That's gangster.
Ironically enough, right? Like, what a perfect name for a magician,
Gangster.
right?
Love it.
Such a gangster name. And I said, Diamond, you have to learn how to
improvise a little with it, right?
Yeah, bring your own originality into this. Like, make this your own. Let me just teach you the structure, the bones, and then you put the flesh on. Like, you paint the house. And, he's 8, 9 years old. Trying to get him to understand that is tough, but he gets it. And, I learned that as a way to say, maybe I shouldn't show him the trick one on. Let me just tell him the effect, show him the method, and then let him do it. And then once it starts to smooth out, then I'll say, now let me show you how I would perform it on someone. And a lot of the times we do our lessons, we were doing one lesson a week at one point. Mm-hmm. And it was a big commitment for me, but I felt that he was good enough potential for me to, put that time in. And we would do some of our meetings, our lessons in Starbucks. And the reason that we would do that is because then we can spend some time learning, and then we can spend some time approaching, cold opening on random people who he's never met. Now, of course, he's got a cute 8-year-old kid.
Yeah.
What person waiting for their latte is going to say, no, I don't want to see a magic trick by this 8-year-old?
Of course.
So deal with, like you said before, even though it's not often. But, I've kind of seen that it's more helpful for him to learn if I just give bare bones, enough for him to figure it out and allow his creativity to take hold. And in fact, when he's older, 10, 15, 20, and he's really coming up with his own stuff, I guarantee you he'll come up with stuff that I never thought of.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important part of the creative process.
How much flexibility and how much leeway do you have as a magician to sort of write your own trick? And, you said in the beginning that like you craft the outcome and maybe what you want people to see from your trick. How much freedom do you have to say, I want to take this pillow behind me and do something crazy with it? Is there like guidelines you got to stay within?
You have a lot of flexibility, because at the end of the day, your audience doesn't know what you're trying to do, right? Because one of the most important things in magic is the element of surprise.
Yeah.
Right. So if you know where I'm taking you, you're not going to be as excited when we get there. If I tell you, hey, Corin, we're going somewhere amazing, just get in the car and hang tight, and I bring you to Disneyland, like when we get there, you're going to be blown away because it's the element of surprise.
Yeah.
So that has a lot to do with magic. And one of the advantages that we have is because of the element of surprise, you don't know the destination. So even if I screw up, if I mess up mid-trick, I'm usually aware that I'm screwing up before you're aware, right?
Good point.
So it gives me the opportunity to think on my feet, oh, how can I fix this? How can I slowly maybe alter the final destination or, alter the route to the same destination? And I do that a lot. I don't mess up often, but you get into that situation where somebody says, okay, spell it with my name, and here I am with the 9 cards and I'm sitting next to the guy, Ted, and he's like, oh, you want me to spell it with my name? So while I'm sitting there, I take 2 cards and I cut them to the bottom in a moment of an offbeat. So now all I need is the 3 more cards to spell Ted. So that's me thinking on my feet.
Nice.
And I literally just came up with that example now.
Yeah.
But that plays into it. As an audience member, you don't know where I'm taking you. So I have the freedom to kind of
craft your own,
move things around.
Yeah.
Craft your own. It's like choose your own adventure kind of.
Yeah.
Remember those books when you're a little kid?
Yep. You mentioned you were reading books and it sort of gives you your own imagination to perform it. And then you mentioned that you got to perform it in front of the guy who wrote the book. Who were your idols, and what was that like performing for someone that you had just read his book and saw him write his trick? Who did you look up to as magicians?
So some of my biggest inspirations, I can name them. People probably that you wouldn't know.
Okay.
But those the ones that I'll name are the ones that you'll know. David Blaine, huge inspiration for me. I mean, I'm born in '92. I'm probably a little bit younger than you, right?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you too, and I'll let you finish your answer. But finish your answer first. My bad. And then I want to.
Sure.
There's a point I wanted to bring up with you.
Well, I'll tangent, but I think that's because when your brother used to visit, I was in Binghamton, freshman, sophomore, whatever years. He came many years, but he was visiting as an alumni.
Yep.
And he would come with you.
Yep.
So I was, still in college. I think you might have either just recently graduated.
Yeah, I might have been finishing up, but I was.
Right. So
I'm
I
88,
think
so I was like maybe finishing college. I was like a senior.
Sure. Yeah.
Or
So you're my brother's age. Yeah. You're 4 years older than me. So so growing up in the late '90s, early 2000s, Blaine was like the biggest thing, and he wasn't my first exposure to magic, but he make magic cool. I used to watch those specials. They used to have The Masked Magician, and Copperfield used to have his specials on TV, and they used to show old Doug Henning specials. And those were awesome, and I used to love watching them. I don't know if you had the unlocked cable boxes back in the day.
Yeah, that was the shit.
Then you used to be able to get pay-per-view and
see a little titty here and
we
there
had
on
that.
The Playboy channel.
Yep, the Spice channel. Actually. So we would have access to that, and I would put in all of the tapes, and I used to get in so much trouble because I would record over family vacations on accident or my sister's recording of TV airing of Beauty and the Beast, and I would throw that in the VCR, and I would record over the magic segments.
Yeah.
Because I was obsessed with watching them, rewinding them, and trying to figure out before they would sometimes show it, to reverse engineer it. I didn't even realize what I was doing.
Yep.
But that's the way I was thinking back then. And I was exposed to a lot of that. And then David Blaine did his first special, and he completely blew me away. Just the rawness of it, like you said, street magic. He was approaching random people on the street. It was so real. Versus everything else that you've seen on TV magic up until this point was studio quality, theater quality, filmed either in a studio or on a stage in a theater with production lights and a host.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel artificial when you watch it, but in contrast, when you see someone like David Blaine, you felt that rawness and whoa, this is real.
Yeah.
There's nothing fabricated about this. And I was hooked by that. And I just, big inspiration for me, actually. This is Blaine's logo.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it. So it's a spade, right?
Yep,
when you look
the
at
DB.
it upside down, it's a spade. But here, if you look at it, it's actually D and a B.
Yeah, it's gangster.
David
I
Blaine,
noticed that.
D-B.
I just watched his special recently.
Right, and that's the split spade. They call it.
Such a good logo.
And this is Theodore Animan and from the 1940s, another big inspiration. And as you go up this sleeve, I have Houdini's water torture chamber, and
amazing.
That guy Howden. I have a tree that represents him from a trick that he did.
Wow.
And this is a whole mural of some of my biggest inspirations, just to remind me of where magic has come from. You know, we kind of skipped that. You asked me about the history. So you had back in the biblical era, and then there was, you know, the shamans and the witch doctors somewhere in the middle. And then it was, you know, the Salem witch trials, that area, 1600s. And then another 300 years later, that's when it evolved into modern art form.
Yeah, I think.
And speaking of Blaine, this is actually pretty sweet. This is some stuff that over the years I've gotten to know him and become friendly with him.
Wow.
And these are some things that I got gifted from him to me.
So sick.
You know, Peace and Love, David Blaine, 2020.
Wow.
You know, and it's some of his special decks that he's had made, and
that's amazing.
You know, one of a kind items.
Yeah, he's got such a mysterious like awesomeness to him. Like I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah,
but like,
and his persona has changed so much over the years.
I think I noticed because he had like on his most recent special on ABC, he has like a 4 or 5 year old daughter now. Special. Oh wow, amazing! That's so cool.
On the back, it's got his logo with
a
ABC.
Sick logo. Yeah.
Yeah, it's harder to see in the.
Yeah, no, I could see it. Yeah.
I don't know what's focusing or not. But yeah, he's got a daughter now. Dessa is her name. And,
yep.
You know, she's a big inspiration for him.
Yeah, and I mean he includes her in a lot of on his tricks too, which is amazing.
More recently, that wasn't always the case.
Okay. He's got this mysterious, like just like I said, awesomeness to him, and I mean he's an amazing magician, and just the way he carries himself. And I remember my brother actually, he had one of his best friends, Merlin, who passed away, rest in peace. Was
I'm sorry, I wasn't laughing. I laughed before you said he passed away. I laughed only because his name is Merlin.
Uh-huh.
The guy was almost basically meant to be a magician. I mean, come on, that's a wizard's name.
Oh, Merlin.
Merlin, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the wizard from Arthur, the Sword in the Stone? Merlin?
What is...
That's like the ultimate wizard name.
Oh, is it? The only Arthur I know is on PBS.
Yeah.
Was there?
But on a lighter note, though, I'm sorry about your loss.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. So my brother's friend Merlin was a Marine, and they did and yeah, no, I didn't take it anyway that you were laughing. Obviously,
no, I know you didn't. I was just clarifying.
But he had at his high school, I think it was, my brother like did this event for Merlin in honor of him, and I forgot how it got matched up, but David Blaine actually showed up to the event.
Oh wow.
Didn't charge anything and was like,
yeah, that's the type of person he is.
Stayed the whole day, and like my brother said, he just showed tricks to everybody.
He's got a heart of gold. And that goes back to what we were talking about with magic. You know, we get such fulfillment, or at least I do. I'm not speaking for the whole population of magicians. That would just be, you know, silly of me. But the fact of the matter is we get so much enjoyment out of what we do, or I do. Like I said, I get so much enjoyment out of what I do that it doesn't feel like work. And, you know, also a guy like David Blaine, he's so wealthy at this point. I think he makes like about $100,000 per paid gig that he does, you know, so for him, it's an opportunity to do something good and give back and give back to that person's, you know,
I guess, but that's, I mean, but
to Merlin. And
for a lot of people, that's easier said than done, man, because like I'm sure you've met like corporate people and celebrities that it's they don't like doing that shit, and they got to go through a publicist and say, I don't want to do that.
And I get asked all the time to donate my time, and I do as much as I can. I do so many charity events, and I do so many things where I donate my time and I work for free. And, you know, I don't really do it for exposure. I do it because of the opportunity to give back. I don't really believe that exposure is that effective in this industry. You know, that's the whole thing. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen that like Sunday newspaper comic where the guy does a painting and he goes to give the commission to the person who hired him, and he says, "Oh, I'm not paying you. This was for exposure." And he's like, "Here you go." And he hands him a fistful of, and they're bills, but they say exposure on them. And the guy looks at him and he goes, and he puts them in his pocket. And then the next part of the strip, he's like, you know, walking through Central Park, and there's a little cart with an umbrella and a guy scooping ice creams. And he goes, you know, he's giving him the ice cream cone, and he's got the exposure bills. He's like, the fuck am I going to do with this? And he's like, I don't take this here, you know?
Yeah. So, you can't do shit with it.
You know, so exposure, yes, it's a good thing. But most of the time, it's because we feel that if we're able to give back and give the experience of joy or mystery, wonder, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. I want to ask you, because obviously in my eyes, being not a magician, but I know every profession, there's, a gold star, there's a top of the line thing that maybe you want to, do in that field. Now, obviously, you're comfortable in the Northeast region, and you go to California and they're all over.
Mm-hmm.
But I would feel like for a magician, like Las Vegas would have to be the ultimate for every magician.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Las Vegas has been like a mecca for magic for a very long time.
Yeah.
And New York City is very quickly becoming the biggest competitor to Vegas in terms of meccas for magic.
Oh, really?
There are some of the top magic shows in Manhattan right now. Not right now with everything being shut.
Yeah.
But you have Dan White at the Nomad. Steve Cohen has been doing a show for 30 years, chamber magic. He's called the Millionaire's Magician, and he gets that title for a very good reason. His show is at the top caliber, and it's so refined that he's coined that term, Millionaire's Magician, to convince millionaires that they need to hire him. Wow. And that's what he's done for the last 30 years. And he was at the Waldorf Astoria. They closed down for renovation. Now he's across the street. We were lucky enough to have our show at a big theater for several hundred people. Wow. We did a couple of runs down in Manhattan, and I'm working on trying to get a residency now. It's tough, though, finding that line between, do I want to become a staple resident magician and have a permanent show? Mm-hmm. We're actually talking right now with a casino in Atlantic City to get a special room and a theater built for our show.
Wow. And
do like a 6-week run there. But I don't know. I personally also really enjoy the private work. Private work is a little bit more lucrative mm-hmm. than doing sold-out shows every night. And it's more fun because it's a different environment every night. You could travel. So it's a double-edged sword. But hopefully I see more of that happen here in New York, so I don't feel the tendency to that need to want to go to Vegas and chase it. I don't have any dreams of seeing my name in like headlines in Vegas. That's not really for me. Mm-hmm. But I would love to be able to stay local to New York and have, a weekly show on like a Thursday night and on a Sunday matinee and do 2 shows a week and sell tickets and be able to stay local and still do the private work. Yeah. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that is awesome. How do you try to incorporate your wife into anything you do?
Good question. I would love her to be a part of more of the magic. Uh-huh. She likes to watch. She likes to watch me do it. And I try not to ruin the magic for her. She's become a magician in so many ways because she's been around me for so long that she knows how I think, how magicians think. So she's very hypercritical of everything that I do in a good way because I remember the days not too long where I could show her something that would impress her. I don't know the last time I showed her something and it impressed. I think maybe like 6 ago, and she's like, okay, that was cool, but it doesn't happen as much anymore. So
well, it's nice to have that there, because if she laughed at if she appreciated everying, right, was blown away by everything.
I don't want a yes man, yes woman to just be like, oh, that was great, honey, and just cheer me on, because that's a recipe for disaster, because then you're going to go out to a real world environment and get chewed up. It's like when I'm working with this 8-year-old kid, and sometimes I'm a little harsh on him, but I'm not harsh in the way where I'm like, oh, you're wrong, or make him feel bad. But I show him, hey, look, maybe try it this way, because what you did didn't work. And, it may make him feel a little insecure in the moment, but it's building his confidence later down the road, and it's preparing him for success, in my opinion. So I think that's important.
100%. That's a great point. I mean, and it goes back to just a conversation people have with, appreciation trophies and stuff like you need harsh criticism, and you need people telling you the truth, especially if
you got to work hard for it.
Yeah. If you're in a field where you're in front of people, you're like in New York, no less. I mean, I can't imagine. I'm sure.
Yeah. And New Yorkers are the worst. Like, if they don't like what you're doing, they won't clap.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, how has it been performing in New York? And then I don't know, I'm sure you've traveled other places, like maybe if you've been to Utah and performing for an audience there or something.
Maybe you're onto something here. Maybe that's the reason that some of the top magicians in the world, I mean, some of the best guys, I don't know if you know Oz Perlman. You're a big sports guy, so he's on ESPN all the time. He was on AGT a couple of years ago.
Oh, is the Eagles Center?
6 years ago. No, that's Darren Bros.
Okay.
So this is another guy. He's not an athlete.
Okay.
But ESPN brings him on, and he goes on like MSNBC, and he'll do like a stock prediction, and he's a magician. him and I work together. I've done gigs side by side with him. He's at a higher echelon than me because he's really well known, and he's been doing this also for at least a decade more than me.
Mm-hmm.
He's still young though. He's like only probably 37, 38. And, you know, I'm lucky enough to sometimes get a little trickle down work from him, work that he can't take, and he'll call me and help me out with a show. But, I lost my train of thought exactly why I was saying this.
Oh, the New York swagger compared to, you know.
Oh yeah, so maybe you're onto something, because maybe that's a reason why some of the best magicians, you know, in the U.S. at least, are New York homegrown, because we're dealing with some of the toughest audiences. And luckily, I've done a lot of shows here in Manhattan, and for people in New York and on Long Island, and you know, in Westchester and in other parts of the state. And I've definitely not experienced, you know, where I've done a show and nobody's reacted and it's just been like horrible. But you know,
straight
people
shooters
are tough. They're hard to approach. They're straight shooters. They say what's on their mind. And hey, New Yorkers are some of the most compassionate people I've ever met. But from an outside perspective, if you're not from New York, you think all New Yorkers are assholes.
Yeah. No, it's 100% true. I haven't spent too much time in Boston, but I just think they're all assholes up there in Boston.
Oh, definitely. I got a buddy up there, so I can say that. Hey, What have you been doing to keep busy during the quarantine?
Oh, what have I been doing? I've been trying to do stuff for the YouTube channel. So my wife, she's the one who edits all my, you know, videos.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, she will say, you know, let's do a food vlog today or something like that. And
oh, that's cool. Come up with some topics.
Yeah, I've been doing that. I've sort of fallen off from the chats a little bit just because, you know, I wanted to talk to you. Like, I want to talk to people with, like, substance. And I just felt like now with this quarantine, so many people are doing video chats that, like, this wasn't unique before the quarantine started. But it's like, you know, if Jimmy Fallon could talk to Barack Obama on his Skype chat, why would someone watch, you know, me talk to Molly's cousin? But like,
sure.
I shouldn't think like that, because I mean,
no,
like,
you shouldn't. But I get where you're coming from. But I think everyone always has something to say.
Yeah.
Regardless of who they are. And I think if you listen intently enough, which is something that I'm not really is my strong point, but I think if you listen intently enough to someone, you can always find that someone has something interesting
100%.
to say, and you can learn from.
Yeah, no.
So I think that you should continue to do that. I think you should continue to have random people on, you know, like you just said, and you know, you never know, people will find some things interesting. Speaking of that, actually, one of the biggest things that I've been doing during this quarantine, and I kind of wish I can dial it back a bit, is been watching a lot of, like, just consuming a lot of media. Netflix, Hulu, like, you name it, whatever subscription, HBO, we've been watching it all. One of the things that what we've been trying to do as a couple is we've been trying to tick off this movie list. So I found online a list of 100 movies.
Okay.
And I've been slowly trying to tick them off. You a movie guy?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite movie offhand?
Can I say Malibu's Most Wanted?
That's a funny movie. I wish I had some chapstick right now, actually. That's a good one.
I don't know. Good Will Hunting's a good one.
That's a good movie too. Drama, some good story to it. Let's try something, actually. Okay. Do you have a web browser, or can you open up one on your phone or something? Mm-hmm. So I'll actually link you, and this is a good source for anybody watching this. I'll link you to the list that I've been using for watching movies, but I also want to try a little thought experiment with you over the internet. So I think that'll be pretty crazy if we can do this.
Okay, I got Google open.
Okay, cool. So you're on Google. I believe it was 100. My girl's got it bookmarked. I think it's 100rankings.com. 100, so 100.
Okay.
The number, rankings.com.
Okay.
And I think there's a couple things, like they have like top 100 songs over the last 20 years. There's movies category. You see that?
Hold on. 100 rankings. I typed it into Google. I should have just typed it in.
You know, it might be 100 ratings. ratings.
100
might be misremembering.
ratings.com.
Yeah.
Hold on.
100.
That's it. Yep. 100ratings.com.
Yeah, cool. So they have that movie list, right?
Yep, movies.
So click that.
Okay.
So
Shawshank Redemption, list, number 1.
Yeah, so Shawshank Redemption, that's a movie that we actually did see. On that list, there's a ton of movies. Ton of movies.
Godfather.
Just read a couple random ones for us real quick.
Random number 7 is Pulp Fiction. 10 is Fight Club. Forrest Gump. Inception.
Okay, cool. So these are movies that we're all familiar with, many of them that
Yeah,
I've seen.
Goodfellas.
Here's what I want you to do. I don't want you to say any more of them out loud because I'm going to try something with you.
Okay.
So what I want you to do is scroll through the list and stop at a movie that you've never seen.
Okay.
You got it? This could be any movie.
Okay, hold on. I want to get a good one because.
Yeah, get a good one. Get a good one.
Sorry, picking a good one. That was a good one.
This is good. No, this is good because I want this to be random. I mean, like if you see Good Will Hunting on there.
Yeah, I'm not going to
like,
pick Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, obviously I know you've seen that. So
Okay.
actually, I don't even think it's on that list, to be honest with you. Surprising because it's definitely a great movie.
Okay, I never saw this one, but this is a classic. It's
Okay,
been a
good.
classic.
So I want you to focus on this movie, a movie that you've never seen.
Okay.
And I want you to imagine the emotion of this movie. Don't say anything. Just imagine it. Okay, I'm already picking up, like, it's intense. This is intensity. So I'm getting the sense that this is kind of like maybe like a horror movie. Am I right to say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't give me any more. Just focus on the movie. Focus on the word. Think of the first letter of the movie.
Okay.
I'm getting the letter G. Just yes or no? No, it's not. Okay, hold on. I know this sounds like maybe I'm, pulling punches here, but it's not the first letter. It's the last letter in the word of the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, we're on to it. Focus on this movie. I don't know why I'm seeing like a big smile. I'm seeing like a big smile, big teeth, horror movie. This is a movie I've seen. Are we talking about The Shining, Stephen King?
That's crazy.
For real? Is that what you're thinking of? Show everybody. The Shining.
Wow.
Awesome.
I was thinking of that. Here's Johnny.
Here's Johnny.
That's wild.
Let's try one more. How about you keep scrolling and this time find a movie that you have seen?
Okay. We're getting into like the 80s and 90s, so that's just more my territory.
Yeah, you can go 80s,
movies.
90s, go more modern. I know there's a couple of newer films on there. I hope they add the movie Prestige to that list because that's hands down my favorite movie. Those of you who have not seen it, Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, all-star cast, Michael Caine, fantastic movie. It's one of those movies that you got to watch a couple of times.
Okay, I got it.
Now that you have that movie, scroll all the way up, close the page, whatever you want. Just focus on that movie. It's not like I'm with you anyway, so I can't see it.
Okay.
Focus on this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this time you went like the opposite. So we're here with The Shining, and now you're like here with this other movie. I don't know what you're thinking yet, but it's polar opposites. One you would watch without the kids, and this is the one that you would watch with the kids. In fact, I think it's a kids movie. It's bringing me right back to my childhood. I'm sensing that there's 4 of these movies.
Oh, man.
But you're not thinking of 4, 3, 2. You're thinking of the first one. Are you thinking of Toy Story?
That's bugged out. I just go back to it just so people can see.
Oh.
But that's what I swear to God, that's what I went to was Toy Story.
I mean, and you could. I mean, listen, there is only 100, things that you could have chose from, but 1 in 100 odds is pretty impressive, I'd say.
That's crazy. That's wild, bro. Because legit, I could have picked any. I could have kept going to like Inglourious Bastards or.
Dude, you could have went to anything.
That's nuts.
And you're like, you're not even in the same room as me, which is great. I'm literally just sitting here and
that's bugged
trying
out.
to get inside your head.
That's
but
bugged
now
out.
That I've actually have you in a good spot. I think that I have you in a good spot to try this. By the way, because I actually changed on my camera, we're split view right now.
Okay.
So the picture that I'm seeing is cropped. So my hand is out of frame right now on both sides. You can still see my hands, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can still see the envelope, yes?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay, good. Because I can't see it anymore just because the screen changed. Fine, I want to make sure that you can still see it.
Yeah.
Here's what we're going to do. While I have you in your mind,
Uh-huh.
during this whole conversation, and after this, you can still ask me some more questions and whatever you want, but I've been trying to influence you. I've been trying to influence your decisions and your thoughts to get you to think a certain way. So I want to really kind of put the ball in your court, no pun intended, kind of like the intro, you bouncing the ball. The ball is in your court. Mr. Basketball. And I want you to imagine that this quarantine is over, okay? This could be 2 months from now. It could be 6 months from now. Even the greatest mentalist in the world, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And disclaimer, I know I'm not the greatest, but I had to say that.
You're the greatest.
I don't know when the quarantine's going to end.
Uh-huh.
But when it does end, I want you to imagine that the day it ends, you get to pack up your entire family and take everybody on a trip anywhere in the world. Sounds like an amazing idea, right?
Yeah,
you get to leave, you
phenomenal.
get to go somewhere, get away from reality for a little bit, and just enjoy some peace.
Mm-hmm.
If you can go anywhere in the world, and I want you to pick an obvious place, I don't want you to pick a place that maybe I could have known, or I could have asked your brother for some intel, or a place that you've posted on social media that would give me clues to how you think. I want you to truly make this random. Think of anywhere in the world right now.
All right. There's a okay.
Totally random.
Yeah.
Now, before you blurt it out, because it sounds like you've committed,
Yeah.
do you want to change your mind? Because, again, later, you're going to be like, dude, like, why didn't I change my mind? And even when you do change your mind, you're still going to be, dude, why didn't I change my mind? But I want you to be certain.
No, I'm going to keep it here, but I don't know if you're going to get this one.
All right, so you're committed?
Yeah.
For the first time, where are you thinking?
Tahiti?
Tahiti.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck it is.
I'm going to be honest with you. Tahiti is amazing. It's beautiful. And, you know, maybe I would have known that you would have gone for a place like that because it is such a gorgeous place. And it's a place that's very much on my radar.
Uh-huh.
But we're in Tahiti, right? Now I'm giving you the option to have the perfect meal. You're with the family, you sit down, and you can have anything you want. You don't even have to eat food that's native to Tahiti because I'm going to airdrop you any meal that you want.
All right, I got my meal.
If you could choose one meal, what would it be?
Chicken parm.
Chicken parmesan?
Yeah, I want some
Now,
chicken
hold on.
parm.
Chicken parm is great. I love me some chicken parm. Nobody makes chicken parm better than my wife.
Uh-huh.
But I'm going to give you a chance to change your mind if you want.
No, I'm 100 on some chicken parm.
Especially since you've already said it.
I'm 100 on some chicken parm.
Corin, has anyone let you know that they don't have chicken parm in Tahiti?
Well, you said you can airdrop it.
I'm just kidding. Okay, good. That just shows you how random this is. Chicken parm. And the last thing I want you to do is imagine this amazing trip is over.
Uh-huh.
And you go home. Somebody's got to send you a bill.
Yeah.
How much do you think the trip cost? Just give me the dollar amount of the trip.
$4,400.
$4,400.
Yes.
4400.
Yeah, $4,400.
Now, be honest with me. Have you ever been to Tahiti before?
No.
Okay. Where was the last place that you went to?
Where was the last place I went to? Shit. Like outside of the U.S.?
Okay, so it could be inside the U.S., outside the U.S., doesn't matter. I don't want you to feel like I can give you restrictions. But here's the catch. Where was the last place that you went to? Doesn't have to be with your immediate family. This could have been with like a brother or cousin. Where was the last place you traveled to, like on a vacation with family or friends?
Probably. Oh, Canada, maybe? I don't know.
Canada? Really? I was actually just in Canada for my birthday. Where'd you go?
Montreal. Best place
Okay,
ever.
sweet. I've only been to Canada once, surprisingly enough. We went to Toronto.
Okay.
I believe, right? That's where Niagara Falls is, Toronto?
No, Toronto. Yeah.
No, why?
Toronto.
No,
No.
I'm mixing it up. Is that Ontario? I don't know. Canada's a big freaking place, but we were in Niagara Falls, just over the New York border.
Yeah.
So,
and the Canada side of Niagara Falls is way better than the U.S. side. It's like it's like
yeah,
a mini Las
dude,
Vegas
for
over
sure.
there. Yeah.
Dude, we had a blast. We were only there for a couple of days, and it was really quick in and out trip. And I can't wait to go back and explore more. But Canada was awesome. But the point of the matter is even if I could have known where you went previously or the things that you've done, there's no way that I could have known that dream
None of that
vacation that you just made up.
Nah.
Now, this has been sitting in sight the entire time. Little important fact here is that I signed it, and we also had written a special word on the top of it.
Important for my French manual over here.
Yeah. Now, it's sealed. It's sealed on all ends. Can you see this? Is this in frame?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it.
Okay.
It's printed, so there's no trick photography. This isn't digital. This is printed. This has been in sight before I even gave you prompts to think about this trip. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to show it to you, okay? Because if I show it to you and read it to you at the same time, I might have like a weird angle here, but I'm going to rip it open. This is the paper that you all saw in the beginning. I'm going to open it up. You can see that there's a couple things highlighted.
Yeah,
here.
those are highlighted words.
I'm gonna read it to you. I could read it this way, so you don't feel like I'm like switching it.
Yeah.
But I'll read it, and then I'm gonna bring it up close so you can actually see what it says. Okay. So on the top it says www.danielnicholasmagic.com. That's where you go to find me, folks. Over here in the header, Daniel Nicholas, Corin's World Live, and underneath it says test subject number 29. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, you like got me in a petri dish right now.
Right. And underneath it, this is the date that I typed it up. I'll zoom in on this for a second. It says April 20th, 2020. So just a couple of days ago.
Okay.
About a week ago. So at the top, it says, if all goes well. And here's what I've written. Hello, all. So here we are. If you're reading this, it should be Sunday, April 26, 2020. That's today. At this point, we should have had a wild time. Corin invited me on his channel during one of the craziest times in recent history to talk and experience all things magic. At this point, I hope you have seen a mind-blowing card trick or two, and I also hope you were able to enjoy watching me get inside Corin's mind. And trust me, it's like an Olympic swimming pool inside there.
Ain't shit going on in there.
I would also like to thank everyone for sticking around this long. Because you have, I have decided to show and teach everyone who made it this far the secret behind a simple trick or two that you can do instantly for friends and family. Now to the reason behind this hand-typed note. During the stream, I will ask Corin to imagine that at the end of this wild quarantine, he would get to go on an amazing trip anywhere in the world. No restrictions. If my gut is correct, he will imagine a vacation to Tahiti.
Wow.
To make things more interesting, I've asked him to imagine his ideal dinner meal. And of course, he would dream of sharing chicken parm with his family. The wildest part yet is the trip cost a total of $4,400.
Chill.
Well, I do have to admit, this does sound like a dream far beyond his belief. But hey, you never know.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bring this in so you guys can see this. Can you read that?
That's wild.
That says Tahiti.
Wow.
That
Chicken
says
parm.
Chicken parm. And that says $4,400. And this is a printed piece of paper. There's no trick photography here in any way. And in fact, I will save this, and maybe one day when this quarantine is over and I get to see you in person, I'll give this to you. And
you get a standing ovation from my chair.
I hope you like that. Man.
That was dope. That was dope. That was
Thank
dope.
you.
That was really dope. That was really cool. And that's what I'm sure you. That was amazing. That was really cool, man. And that's something that like a lot of people can't do. They can't, like, I could tell jokes and I can make people smile a certain way, but like,
right.
I'm going to go when we're done and tell my wife now, like, you got to listen to this. But before she gets to listen to this, I get to tell her that like, you typed up some shit that I didn't even say yet. And the shit was on the paper,
and
I
showed it to you too before we started.
Yeah,
which I was hoping that you didn't see it. Did you see it?
No,
I mean, like, read the words.
No, not really. But like, that's bugged out, man. That's really cool. That was impressive. I give you a lot of props. And
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Props to you.
That's something that like I have a lot of respect for magicians. I love watching magicians. Like I said, I watch these specials, and I just did this recently. I watched the David Blaine old special, and he was with George Bush, and he was shaking cards or something like that. There were like two aces.
And then he takes his watch.
And they took his watch. And that was the first time where I could rewind, and I saw him like shaking his wrist and taking it off a little bit. But I can never do it with any other tricks. And there was one show that was on Fox one time. It was like How to Bust a Magician, and then they had these people. And they like had like ski mask on, and they were trying to be all secretive of like exposing magicians.
I never saw that. No.
Oh, you never saw that?
No, I've never seen that. I gotta look it up.
Yeah, look that up on YouTube. It was supposed to be this mysterious like all magicians are going down now because we're gonna expose every single trick. But like, I was interested in watching it because it was like, damn, like it's showing us how behind the curtain.
you feel like you're part of it when you get to see the behind the scenes.
Yeah, but the way you explain it is just like, because there's never going to be an end to magic. You can always make a new trick and do something dope. And is that right in a sense?
Pretty much, actually a lot of the older pieces of magic are rehashes. A lot of the newer pieces of magic are rehashes on old ideas, old concepts, things that have been done for 100+ years. But people will say, "Hey, I like this idea. How do I modernize it? How do I bring it into the present?" So there's always going to be taking old ideas, rehashing them, and modernizing them. And then with the advent of technology and all these resources that we have, there's going to be a creation of new and interesting other types of magic that go along with it.
So, and obviously, I think we absolutely have to do another one of these. I've got so much more stuff I want to ask you, and like,
we definitely could pop on another one in the near future, a couple weeks, months, whatever suits you.
Cool.
What I'll do is we could wrap it up shortly, but what I'll do is I'll show you one more trick.
Okay.
I'll do one more trick for you. And then I'll teach you something.
For sure.
And then you can ask me any kind of finishing questions, things like that.
Let's do it.
This one is kind of like an odd one because, in my opinion, the reason that this is an odd one is because it's not guaranteed to work, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to influence you the right way. I don't know if I'm explaining that the right way, but we can try. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine a memory in your mind.
Okay.
A memory from a time that meant something special to you, like a good memory. It doesn't have to be an obvious thing, but something that was important to you.
Okay.
You got that?
Yep.
Okay. I want you to focus on that memory. Now, the only reason that I started thinking about this is because you said with David Blaine and the watch, so I think this could be cool. Okay, so right now it is, for those of you who don't know, it's about 10:22.
Mm-hmm.
It's roughly around what time it is right now. I don't know how accurate that is, but I know it's around 10:30 at night. Here's what I want you to do. I want you, in your mind, to think of this memory and just imagine in your mind the time of day that this happened. So whether this was morning, afternoon, night, in your mind, don't say it out loud, just focus on morning, afternoon, or night. You got that?
Yeah.
Okay. And here's what I want you to do. And I want you to imagine that you're seeing this memory, you're in this memory, you're reliving it. You can feel the people around you. You can smell the senses and the smells that would be in this memory. And you can hear and see everything. Like, immerse yourself in this memory. And imagine that while you're there, you're looking behind you and you see on the wall, there's a clock. And the hands are spinning round and round and round, and they just stop.
Mm-hmm.
And they stop in the exact time of the moment that you're in. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to imagine that time. And don't make this easy, like 5:30. Like, I want you to tell me that you see it at 1:53 p.m. Whatever it is for you. Okay? You have the time in mind?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for this. Now, obviously, you can see as I pull out the pin, I can start to move the hands.
Yeah.
I'm going to just change the time. Is your brother in this memory?
Yeah.
Okay. I got this. I either got this or I'm damn close. Okay. What was the time in the memory?
I said 10:33. I don't know if that's...
You could say whatever. If you want to be less specific than 10:33, that's fine. But if you want to be
10:33,
what was the memory?
My wife, getting married to my wife. That's fucked out. That's in the same shit. Oh man, that's crazy.
10:33.
That's crazy.
I gotta reset it, so I gotta set the time back to normal later.
Impressive again, man. That's fucking
Thanks,
cool.
man. I appreciate it.
That's so cool.
I appreciate it. So I'll do one more little quick one for you, and then what I'll do is I'll teach it to you. I'll teach you something else. One of my favorite things to do for people when I'm working is people always say, "Hey, if you're a magician, if I was a magician, I would just make money appear."
Mm-hmm.
They come up with all these like obvious scenarios that anybody with a power would do, right?
Yep.
Like, what would you do if you had the power to do anything, right?
Yeah.
You would try to materialize money. That's what most people would do if you were a magician.
Mm-hmm.
So I have people tell me that all the time. Can you make money appear? So I say, you know what? In fact, I can. And I always tell people, what I'll do is I'll make you a deal. You give me a bill, and I will change that bill into a $100 bill for you right now in front of you. And when I'm done, you can keep the change. The one rule that I have is that I ask the person who's lending me the money, because, obviously people get greedy and they want to give me a $1 bill and expect me to change it to 100. I say I have one rule. The rule needs to be at least a 20. So it needs to be a 20 or larger. And it can't be a $100 bill, because if I change a 100 to a 100, nobody's going to be impressed, right? So that's obvious. So I say it's got to be a bill at least larger than a 20, so there's some stake in the game, and I'll change it to 100. So I usually get somebody to lend me a 20, and I like to do this literally. I don't know if you can see everything, but I'm doing this with no sleeves. So I take the 20 and I fold it up before their eyes, and I like to do this in front of them so they can see it happen. Now, if you focus closely on that $20 bill, you'll notice that it starts to change colors. It actually starts to look blue. It actually becomes a $100 bill. At this point, they're screaming and freaking out. And then at this point, when I show them the bill, it takes a couple of minutes for it to sink in.
That's gangster.
But I love to give this thing out. And this is, bro, this is the funniest thing. I can't even tell you. Because it actually feels like real money. It's printed on Tyvek. It's paper that doesn't tear.
It's a good drawing.
And it's hand drawn. Yeah, it looks like Knicks might have drawn this,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Ben Franklin has got swag.
Oh, man.
Like no other over here. The funny thing is, I always do this as kind of a joke, as a gag. People say something so extreme, like, oh, make me money. Yeah, of course. If I could do that, I wouldn't be here. So I came up with this as a way to just kind of make light of the situation. And it's funny because at first what started off as a joke, these things, by the way, they cost me about $5 to make. And I made about 15 or 20 of them just in case I lost. But originally I only made a couple. But what happened was I started doing this as a joke, and I would borrow a $20 bill. I've even had people lend me 50s, and I would change the $50 bill into this. And I open it up, and there's that moment where people look at it. Can't tell in this lighting, but it's actually bluish.
Yeah,
it looks like 100. And there's that moment of people react like they think it's a real 100, and then it takes about 5-6 seconds till they realize it's fake. So it's always really funny. But I've had really well-off people and celebrities and athletes who I've done this to, who have said to me, who have turned around and said to me, "Can I keep this?" And in my head, I'm ready to turn it back into a 20 or whatever they lent me.
Yeah.
But if they want to keep it that bad, to me it's pretty funny, because it's an anecdote for the power of the magic, because it's something so stupid, but it meant so much to that person that they're willing to sacrifice that $50 bill they gave me for this memory.
Oh, hell yeah!
And since it cost me about $5 to make, I make about $45 or $15 every time I do it. So
yeah, shit, I'd be doing that trick to everybody in the room.
I will change it back to a 24 right in front of you, so you can actually see it happen. Right at the fingertips when you blow on it. It's only in that moment right there.
Wow.
And that's literally the moment that the 20 actually becomes real.
That's dope. That's cool.
So now that you have your $20 bill out, here's what we'll do. Take your $20 bill. This is the last trick I'm going to teach everybody. Little fun one for everyone. Could be done with it. For those of you who didn't know that we were doing this,
I have a 5. You asked me to have a bill.
Yep, I asked Corin to have a bill. So everyone who doesn't have a bill, pause, go grab a bill, take it out of your wallet. A 1, a 10, a 5, doesn't matter.
Turn this into a $1,000 bill.
Actually, it doesn't even matter. What's that?
Can we turn this into a $1,000 bill?
Yeah, sure. I can definitely do that for you. I don't know if you can spend it, but I can certainly change that to you for you. Again, it doesn't even need to be American money, because as long as it's paper currency, you can even do this with a piece of paper to be fair, but fold it in half lengthwise.
Okay. Doesn't matter.
Okay, now I want you to do exactly as I'm doing, okay? Take the bill, square it up, and you're going to take your thumbs. You're going to go just like this. You're going to put your thumbs underneath the bill. Okay? And you're going to slowly but surely, it takes a little finessing, but if you could do it just right, you know what? I could even try to do this a little bit over here. I'm going to do this more on the edge, okay? Watch closely. Right there. You can get this bill to balance and levitate. And you can see that there's no strings. Now, I will tell you, Corin, it's not going to work for you.
Oh, okay, good. Because I'm like, am I an
Yeah, because
idiot
you're
over here?
wondering why the hell you can't get it to levitate.
Yeah, what
And
the
if you do this
fuck?
right enough, you can actually get it. Like you can actually even get it to spin, just like that, and you can even get it to spin back. And the best part about it is you can actually do this with a borrowed bill, and you can hand the bill out when you're done. And are you ready for the secret?
Yeah.
The secret for this money trick is, ironically, another piece of money. It's a quarter. So if you haven't figured it out already,
Shit, I
I'll
forgot my
explain
quarter.
to you what I did. You basically fold the bill in half. The finger is the coin is hidden in your fingers, and it's kind of just hugged in my fingertips over here. And what happens is I load it into the bill secretly. So now the coin is towards the end, and all I do is I balance that quarter from my and even on the thumb as I slowly bring the left hand the frame. It looks like a miracle, and especially if you're doing this in person for somebody,
Yeah.
they can get pretty angle sensitive. They can come all the way on the left, on the right, and you have all that frame in the front.
Wow.
And all you do is simply balance the coin on the finger. This will probably blow your daughter's mind.
Yeah.
Maybe she's still a little too young, but you do that, and then the cleanup is super easy because all you do is you turn your hand over and you hand them the bill, and the coin slides out of the bill into your hand, and you give them their bill back, and there's nothing to find, nothing to inspect, and you just keep your hand palmed with that coin.
That's so cool.
And it's a simple little trick. Again, this isn't something I would do for a paid show.
Yeah.
But
This is
it's
for the YouTube
that
audience.
I came up. Yeah, it's cool for the YouTube audience. Came up with, and I thought would work well for this type of a setting.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. I love that you at least showed a couple things for people to try on their girlfriends or whatever.
That's what I
boyfriend
want. I
or-
want people to be able to give the magic, because I feel like I'm restricted right now.
mhm.
I can't. I've had every show that I've had booked up until October canceled.
Mhm.
This is tens of thousands of dollars of income.
I'm sure.
This is half of a year's worth of work is gone. And again, I'm not harping on it because I know I'm far from the only person in this boat, and I'm also so thankful for everything that I do have. But because of that, financial matters aside, the whole reason to leave my career to become a magician was to do what I love.
Mhm.
And having that stripped away from me has definitely been tough because I don't have the opportunity to go and give the magic to people. And I've had so many shows that would have been this week, tomorrow, the next day, that I'm not going to anymore. And some of them are actually we're in negotiating stages, figuring out either new dates. Some people are open to the idea of me doing a virtual show.
Mhm.
Obviously, it wouldn't be like this.
Yeah.
I would make it a little bit more professional, and
Of
I
course.
would do a full-on show rather than it
And
being
I've
more
restricted people
conversational.
too, just so people know. Like Skype is the only format I know, and I'm sure there's better quality stuff.
Hey,
There's been
Skype is good.
like some glitches here and there, like when you've spoke. So like Skype's fine. Yeah, I'm just saying like there's probably better stuff. So it's on me for being a technology
Sure, but
idiot.
this is casual.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think we have the advantage that it doesn't matter. But I know Zoom is really good,
Yep.
and then there's a couple other softwares like Ecamm, because I want to be able to eventually. I have a bunch of really great mounts, and I've got like a really expensive Canon camera, and a couple other things. But I want to be able to hook them up to the computer and have multiple angles,
Yeah.
and then switch between what the audience is seeing. So I've been hesitant to take that leap to go full virtual with my business because I'm the type of person, measure twice, cut once. If you're going to do something right, do it right.
Yeah.
If you're going to do something at all, do it right. So I don't want to I see a lot of people who are just putting out material and doing live shows, and I think that they could be doing better for themselves. And I don't want to jump to do that, but I'm slowly exploring the avenues that I can take to build a show and turn it into something, fun that I can continue to do virtually. And piggybacking back, because I know I segued way off, the whole reason why I said this is because, the reason why I show these tricks to people, even though some of them are little and maybe insignificant to some other people, it's something that someone else can do, and they can go continue to forward that magic to someone else.
Yep.
And give that experience, that sense of wonderment to someone else. And I feel like that's what the bigger picture is about.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's so awesome. And like I said, it's very commendable, and I respect what you're doing. And I hope the quarantine doesn't take away the in-person effect that magic has on people. You know, obviously, internet is
Yeah,
great,
for sure.
but I'm sure you know, being in person and seeing someone smile right in front of your face, not 6 feet away, is got to be so
For
rewarding.
me, that's definitely the cream of the crop, and I got a little taste of it, like watching you freak out,
Yeah,
and
man.
you knowing that the stuff that we're doing is these are test conditions. Like
Yeah,
dude, you're not even in New York.
I know.
You're probably like 1,500 miles away from me at
Yep,
least.
yep.
So you're not even like 10 miles away, 5 feet away. You're in another fucking
Yeah.
state.
Nah,
Excuse
it's
my
bugged
language,
out.
everybody.
No, it's
But
fine.
that's what it's all about. And I think that's cool, to be able to do that. And as much as the in-person reactions for me are so important, I do get some sense of enjoyment, or almost as much, from this as well. So I think it's a good thing.
Well, I'm like I said, I've got so much more stuff that I want to ask you, so I would absolutely love to do this again with you. I'm very
Yeah, write some more questions down, save them for next time. And
appreciative. But so for people who, if they were to follow your Instagram, are you gonna maybe start putting a couple tricks and stuff on the page for people to
yeah,
see and stuff?
definitely. Hit me up on Instagram. Definitely shoot me a follow over there. I'm going to be posting more videos.
Mhm.
I'm also going to be doing a lot of surprise lives.
Nice.
So go to my page. Put on, if you
I'll
want to
put
do
it
the
in the
notification
notes.
bell
Yeah.
for when I go live. Because what I'm also thinking, people didn't hear our part of this discussion because me and you did 5 minutes before we went live.
Yeah.
But we were talking about how I was telling you a story about how my buddy, who's a well-known New York magician, was in somebody else's, a famous influencer's live stream, and just was commenting like, hey, if you want to have your mind blown, add me into your chat. And he got enough people who like said, oh, we want to see the magic, that the guy's like, what are you guys talking about? And it started a domino effect. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to, anytime I see somebody who I follow, like I know
That'd be
John
amazing.
Mayer does like a lot
Yeah.
of lives, and I've been thinking about it. So I'm waiting for him to do a live, and I'm going to come up with like a copy and paste post with all those colorful emojis so everyone sees it. John, if you want to have your mind read, add me in right now. 5 minutes, that's all you need. And we'll see. And maybe I'll get a surprise live with one of your favorite celebrities or athletes. And if you follow me, maybe you'll get to see that. So I think that'll be cool.
That would be amazing. And like I said, it sounds cheesy, but like I get a smile every time like we message or we talk, and you're just a very like warm person. So ever since I met you in Binghamton,
you too, man.
You've been dope. So I really, really appreciate this, and even you taking the time to do magic and explain to people magic. So everyone give you a follow. I'll put your Instagram and all that in the descriptions. And
Sweet, brother.
dude, this was dope, and I really, really appreciate it a lot, man.
Yeah, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank everybody. I know most of you probably did not make it this far. Hey,
Yeah, I'm
I'm
always amazed by people who make it to the end.
Maybe I'm wrong. And if you made it this far, comment, because I'm
Exactly.
curious. And it means a lot to me. It means a lot to Corin. It means a lot to both of us that you guys came and sat through this just to hear what two guys with beards have to say. So,
Definitely.
I was actually about to come on the live when we first started and be like, sorry, man, bad news. I haven't done magic in 2 months. I don't remember how to do it anymore. But
I'm sure we would have still had an awesome conversation, man. Cause
yeah,
that's the type of
probably,
dude you are.
probably.
But
thank you again, man.
sure.
I'm definitely looking forward to the next one.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep our ears open, and hopefully I'll see you soon, man. Give your best to your brother for me if you speak to him before me, and the best to your family. And we're always steady in touch on
Definitely.
On the channels. So
Yeah. I'm super excited to see what's coming next from your channels and stuff like that, like I said, and we'll be in touch. So thank you so much, dude. Appreciate
thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Everybody stay strong during this time. We're all going to come out of it better than ever. So
Absolutely.
those of you who are having a difficult time, keep your head up.
Cool.